What's happening, YouTube? Very bad news for Clipper Nation. We're on a losing streak, which is status. It hasn't happened for a while, but unfortunately, it did happen. But so we played against the Denver Nuggets, and pretty much it was like they were like mostly in control, but we actually had some pretty good promise, if I could say. But it was a pretty like, uh, thankfully it was not a blow up. Like at least the Clippers they kept fighting, but like it was just definitely the Nuggets control throughout the whole entire game. So basically, let's start off the first half. The first half, um, well, basically the Nuggets they were moving the ball like really, really good. And the Clippers like defense, like to be honest, it was still pretty like subpar in a way because like we were like playing more like man to man rather than we were playing zone. Like we were like we were always deal with open guys in a way. Like it was like it was not good. They were making all types of threes. Bones Highland, he was getting buckets, like pretty good pickup for the Denver Nuggets. Um, Sucks Keon wasn't there because Keon would have clamped the living heck out of Bones Highland, but he did his thing. He did pretty good. Just a pretty good piece for the Nuggets. Um, and then the second half, that's when things got pretty fun. That's when the Clippers almost kind of took control. Like we briefly took control in the third quarter, like fourth quarter. Then the Nuggets took control back. Aaron Gordon got a pretty crazy dunk, but Harnstein, like he actually played a lot of minutes. But Rocco, he actually got a really really beautiful block on Jokic. So, but shout out to Rocco, none but love for him. But the Nuggets, they just ultimately took control. They just made their shots. They were just, man, they were just making their stuff. Like they were really like, ooh, it was brutal, right? It was like not as brutal, but still brutal. But anyways, let's go player by player. So first of all, let's go with Marcus Morris. Marcus Morris, he was starting to get buckets like in the first like three quarters, and then he kind of went a little bit on a cold streak. Like he was like he kind of disappeared, but he did he did his thing. Like he was he did not make any threes, but he was getting more buckets in the mid range, and he even got it to the rack. So that's that. His defense was nothing too special, just typical average if I had to say. Um, Reggie Jackson, box score didn't look pretty, but there were moments when he was, making floaters and all that. Like Reggie does pretty good when he attacks the basket. Like hopefully we can see Reggie try to do that more often. But eh, he was like I believe 6'4". I forgot 6'4", 18. I want to say, which is that's like 30%, which is not the prettiest to be honest, but there are moments when he had some good hustle plays and all of that. So, and also he also had pretty good playmaking as well too. Like especially when he was near the basket and he just managed to wing it out to I forgot who, but he winged it out to someone. But yeah, like Reggie, he was not Mr. June. Wish he could have been Mr. June. If he was Mr. June, man, we would have most definitely won the game. Just hopefully he turns Mr. June into playoff when it matters. Because it's all about what you do in the playoffs, and regular season would be good, but it's all about what you do during crunch time. And that is the playoffs. Sorry for the burp. But anyways, then Amir Coffee. Amir Coffee didn't really do bad, but didn't do, the best, but, he did solid. Um, you know, provided some solid ball movement. We actually didn't see much of Amir Coffey in the second half, but I mean, it's alright, it's alright. And then you got Nick Batum, who reminded us on why he's a Clipper, because he plays pretty good defense. He has really great length. There are moments when he does solid on defense on Nikola Jokic. He makes timely threes. Just a typical really good blue collar player. Now let's head to the bench. Um, Rocco, he did amazing. Made a lot of timely threes. Played tremendous defense. Just that perfect, ideal hustle guy. It's like 6'7", 7'3" wingspan. That is just something like real good to have. Like Rocco, my goodness. Just hopefully, just Clippers. Please, 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 please. Like sign him to like a multi-year contract, and hopefully he like retires as a Clipper, because there's something special about Rocco that he does for any NBA team. Like he's just that ultimate perfect guy. Like if you thought Nick Batum was a guy, ooh, Rocco was just something else, just something else. And then Harnstein, he actually played. Oh, I forgot. Like speaking of, I forgot to talk about Ivica Zubac. My bad, Zubac, but Zubac, uh, it wasn't pretty for Zubac. Like now, especially the Zubac slander, it's definitely gonna be really high. All right, like a lot of Clippers fans, they're gonna be going at Zubac. I'll not really do that, but I'm just tell how it is. But Zubac, it was not pretty for him. He was definitely like losing the ball. He was pretty, very clumsy and all of that. Um, so much that Tyronn Lue didn't play him during the second half, which is really interesting. Like I'll talk about Tyronn Lue later on. But Zubac, like yeah, it was just pretty rough. He did get that one good block on Jokic though. We gotta give him that. We gotta give him that. But it was not the most prettiest game for Ivica Zubac. But now let's go back to Harnstein. Harnstein, he was getting buckets. He was bringing that energy. He was playing pretty good defense as well too. At least he put a lot of effort. He just shows that he's definitely a really key contributor for the Clippers. And then you got Luke Canard, who had a pretty quiet game. He made like some shots, but that's about it. He definitely didn't really show out. He was just, it was definitely his off night. But we all know what New Canard can do. But yeah, Luke, it was just man, like that, like that's kind of like the thing about Luke. Like when he's off, is just it's not the worst anymore, because Luke Kennard improved a lot in his all-around game, especially his defense. Primarily, like Luke Kennard actually plays like now he actually plays solid defense. So at least it's not like the worst in the world if Luke Kennard is off. And then we got the man Brandon Boston Jr. Tyler, like his rotations was great in this game. I'll just tell you that. Brandon Boston Jr. He was getting buckets. Like he got 6 points, which it didn't look too much, but man, he was like 75%. Needs to be taking more shots. Tyler needs to encourage the teammates to give the ball to Brandon Boston Jr. Because just imagine, give Brandon Boston Jr. like big minutes. He's definitely gonna produce, because he's just great all around. But especially when he gets the buckets, because his shots is really tough to guard, and when it's falling in, it's not pretty for the opponents already. But yeah, like Brandon Boston showcased a lot of stuff. He showcased that he's a really great bucket getter. Um, his playmaking is real nice. Like ooh, he could like legit throw throw like some full court dimes. And hey, I'm glad Tyronn Lue like actually played him big minutes. And Tyronn Lue, speaking of Tyronn Lue, like his coaching was great in this game. So this loss was nowhere near like on Tyronn Lue because he did what he can. Like he literally like made a lot of adjustments. Like when Zubac, it was just not having his night. He literally benched him for a while, went small, and we did pretty well. And then we pretty much went with Harnstein, which was a pretty good option. I'm not gonna give a lot to you because he was the one bringing the buckets and he was the one bringing defense. He's like Harnstein is like a Montrezl Harrell that plays pretty good defense, and Tyronn Lue, he just knows that nope, it's not Zubac's game, so he just had him sitting the bench for a while. And the Clippers, we were actually having some good promise, and Tyronn Lue did the ultimate thing that I wanted him to do, and it's utilize Brandon Boston Jr. He actually played 13 minutes. Like, of course, Tyronn Lue should obviously play him more, like 25 minutes if he can, but I mean, there's not really much I could truly ask, but like, hey, it's better than like 5 minutes. Like, that's the props I'm definitely gonna give Tyronn Lue. Like, he played Brandon Boston Jr. actual significant minutes, and he also made a lot of adjustments, and that is a pretty good thing to see. And then we got Terrence Mann, who was pretty much the best Clipper tonight. He dropped 24 points. He was grabbing a lot of rebounds. He was ultimately bringing the hustle. He was bringing that energy. He was just being a really impactful blue collar type player. Like, definitely shout out to Terrence Mann. Just big shots to Terrence Mann. He just did his thing. But basically the Clippers, like, I think like the downfall in this game, it was just our like defense was and and what's also interesting is can't really blame one person in general. Like, there's no specific person to say who was getting cooked, but because it was more like kind of like a team thing. Like the team, like we kind of like play a little bit too man to mans, which resulted the person to get a wide open shot rather than playing zone, which is staying in their own area, and then at least you have a chance to contest everybody. But yeah, that was one downfall, and the biggest downfall is rebounding. Like, man, we struggle a lot with buying a rebound. All right, like that's our main Achilles, and hopefully we can solve that by choosing a right player in the 2022 NBA draft, which I might try to make a video about it within the near future. So yeah, just keep an eye on about that. But as of right now, I'll be talking a little bit about the Denver Nuggets. So Mickey Jokic, he did his thing, I guess. Dropped 30 points. Pretty skilled, pretty good pass, pretty good playmaker. Just did his thing, but really wish the Clippers did not trade Ibaka, because Ibaka would have definitely gave Jokic a lot of trouble. But Ibaka was not there. But the Clippers played pretty smart defense on him. Like, we pretty much like double teamed for him for a while, but then Jokic just eventually had like the momentum. Like, Jokic is in a way is kind of like one of the guys you somewhat need to I play really smart on him. Like, I think like Tyronn Lue tried to do an interesting thing, like have Rocco guard Jokic, and then have Harnstein switch on Jokic. Like, that's what the commentator said. But yeah, like, I felt like we did what we can, and especially Rocco, he did his thing. Like, man, and first of all, can you imagine if Montrezl Harrell was has that Rocco hustle? Like, And also, of course, if Montrez shoots threes and actually plays great defense, Montrez would have actually been a certified beast if he actually hustled like how Rocco did. But fortunately, Montrez, he was a diva. He was just, like, I don't know, just toxic. But anyways, but yeah, Jokic did his thing, dropped 30 points, 15 rebounds. Um, just typical Jokic things. Then you got Monte Morris, who made a lot of shots, I guess, because partially because our defense was not the best. Like we were leaving people wide open. So of course that resulted in Monte making shots, and then we got who else? Jeff Green. Jeff Green also killed us during crunch time. Made a lot of timely shots. Just man, pretty rough. Pretty rough. Then you got Bones Highland. He was the energy guy. He was playing like how Mr. June Reggie Jackson would play. He was, getting buckets. He was like he even did like his own like little celebration, which is, I guess great for him. Like cannot get mad about it. But it'll be really interesting to see what the Nuggets do. Like when Jamal Murray comes back. I will the Nuggets eventually maybe trade Jamal Murray because to make room for Nashawn Highland or have them play together. I think they're probably gonna have them play together. Like have made Jamal Murray play shooting guard and Bones Highland be the point guard. Have their really interesting backcourt, kind of like a little bit like a Dame and a CJ McCollum in a way. And of course you have Jokic. Pretty interesting what the Nuggets will do down the line. And yeah. And then they have Boogie Cousins. Man, Boogie Cousins, he brought trouble against the Clippers, man. He was just being pretty dominant, and his passing was just pretty good. And he was getting really, he was pestering our players, man. He was, kind of like, his body language just kind of, showed that, he wanted to get in our heads or something, man. Boogie, ooh. He's the ultimate, kind of like a bully. I honestly, I honestly still wish that the Clippers could have kept DeMarcus Cousins, man, because I believe he's a pretty, really good, solid player to have. Of course, he's not the Sacramento Kings, DeMarcus Cousins, who was dropping near 30 points a game, but he was, he's still, I thought he's pretty good in that game. I still take Boogie Cousins, because, pretty solid, man. Just does a lot of things that you would want a big man to do. Something that, Zubac would struggle to do, Boogie could definitely do all of that. But it was just Boogie night, I guess. It was his night. And then Jamal Green did solid. Austin Rivers got some buckets, pretty solid. But yeah, Nuggets, they were having a really good ball movement. Their ball movement was just, pretty good, to say the least. But the Clippers, we definitely needed this win, but let's just beat Philly on Friday to refresh ourselves. But yeah, there's a lot of things the Clippers could have definitely worked on. Is definitely rebounding and also the way how we play our defense. But overall, I thought that Tyronn Lue, he coached really good in this game, compared to other games. Um, he made some pretty good adjustments, and he definitely did what me and my homie Clip Ganger Don't Bang / Madara would want to see, and it's to utilize Brandon Boston Jr. And Tyronn Lue just did that. But now every single game, that's what Tyronn Lue should always be doing, and utilizing the man Brandon Boston Jr. And also that's what he should have done since the beginning of the season. Utilize Brandon Boston Jr. and utilize the homie Jay Scrub. But praise up to Jay Scrub anyways. But yeah, If Tyronn Lue coached like this every game, it would have been pretty good. But anyways, just let me know what you think about the game in general. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll get with y'all in the comment section. And as you all know, have a great